it's so important to have conversations with people who've actually done it. I started my show in 2020 and built it up, and even people who've done it, and it's been life-changing. Speaking to someone like Clem was a moment that really brought me clarity because it helped me articulate myself better in public. So I'm really happy to share that with y'all today. So Clem, a little bit about him. He's been in Toastmasters for over 9 years and has been an internationally award-winning speaker. He's one of the most profound ones in Canada. So Clem, let's go educate the people. Let's give it a round of applause for Clem.
Hello, hello, hello. That's weak. Come on, we can do better than that. Hello, hello, hello. Listen, I drove all the way from Rouge Hill to get here, so I expect a lot better effort than that. This is amazing. This is amazing to be here. Thank you very much for that prolific introduction. Now it's put a lot of pressure on me to own up to being prolific in Canada when it was actually just my district in Toastmasters. But I'm leading towards being Canada, so I think it's prophetic in that manner. Can I get an amen? Awesome. I want to be respectful of your time, so I'm actually going to time myself to make sure that I do not go over the allotted time. So as a speaker, you are here as communicators, whether you like it or not. And you all have stories, whether you like it or not. And those stories have to be, and I tell people, have to be told, because you don't know whose life is being affected. You don't know whose life could be affected if you do not tell your story. You are here because someone told a story. And that story impacted you in such a great manner that you came to be where you are to do what you want to do. So why don't you return the favor? And what I found out through the last 11, 12, 13 years in Toastmasters is I've actually understood this very nature. Storytelling is powerful. Storytelling is powerful. So before we begin, let's make sure that we got a thing going here. Well, the power of storytelling, this is a story you can tell everybody. Clem came up here talking about storytelling and his clicker didn't work. Well, that's okay because I know my slides inside and out. So I'm going to do an introduction about myself. Clem Dwyer, I've been 11 years in Toastmasters. I am the 2025 District 60 International Speaking Competition Champion. I've also, well, thank you very much. Appreciate that. I've had 20 years of speaking experience and 30 years doing audiovisual. And I know what you're saying. You're like, Clem, what does audiovisual have to do with speaking? Well, honestly, oh, that's a cute guy. Let's back this one up here. Yeah, so honestly, 30 years of experience. I've been behind the scenes, so I've seen a lot of speakers communicate. I've seen some great ones, and I've seen some not so great ones. And we've done many productions, and we sat there and went, really? They could probably use your workshop, Clem, on how to actually communicate, how to tell a story that's engaging, interesting, that's going to get people to want to stand up out of their seats. And you've been to events where you're like, that's what I want to do. That's where I'm going to move in life. And you've been where you kind of went, I'm not sure why I'm here. I mean, anybody been in that place? Yeah. So this cute kid over here, 10, 11 years old, sat in class one day, heard these words, kids, we are going to learn how to do public speaking. This kid right here heard public executing. Because you see, it wasn't because he didn't know how to talk, didn't want to talk, it was because he had a stuttering. I had a speech impediment known as stuttering. I don't know if anyone's ever been there, but what stuttering I like to say is in your brain, I know exactly what I want to do, how I want to do it, how I'm going to communicate. It's like the 407. Anyone ever driven the 407? Oh, I love it. 120, 140, 150, 160. You shouldn't do 160, by the way. It's illegal. But I was cruising until you hit the Don Valley Parkway, or as we know it as the Don Valley parking lot. And you slam on the brakes, and my words couldn't come out. It felt like there was a 10-ton elephant on my chest. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think. I couldn't see. And yet I was supposed to stand in front of my own colleagues, my own teacher. And for 3 minutes, I was supposed to talk to them about something that I knew. And it felt like 3 hours. The worst feeling of my life. 2 years of therapy on speaking. And in 2 years of therapy, I learned a lot about myself, but I learned about the art of communicating. And I learned tips, tools, and techniques that I'm going to share with you, because it may not be that you have a stuttering problem. It may be the very fact that you just don't have the tools to speak. You don't have the tools to communicate. You were in class and the teacher said, here's a project, Mike, and you're supposed to present it. And you're like, well, how? Don't know, but it's worth 30% of your mark. Good luck. And that's what you were faced with. And you fell flat on your face. And you said, never again am I doing this. Anyone been there? Never again? Oh, thank you for being honest. The rest of you are liars. Rest of you are liars. We've had the never again I'm going to do it because I didn't know how to do it. So this kid here had a speech impediment who hated speaking in front of people and swore he would never speak in front of people. Ended up doing something that he thought was never possible, never thought he could ever do, and it was speech champion. So speech impediment to speech champion was based on understanding the tools of communicating. And this word came from understanding how to do something that's very important for those of you who are podcasters or content creators, is storytelling. My mission statement is simple: to empower you when you step into any room, how to communicate, to walk into any room. I spoke to a gentleman. He said the reason why he couldn't move up in his company was because he didn't know how to present. That was it. He understood how to do cybersecurity. He understood how to do the work. The reason why he was stuck there is he didn't know how to explain to a group of people what he did. I'm going to repeat that. He knew how to do the work. He just couldn't explain to other people how he did it. Some of you are stuck in the position you are right now at your workplace because you have all the skills. You just don't know how to communicate that. You don't know how to get the manager to elevate you to being director, to being manager, and you're stuck here. And that's money on the table because you don't know how to communicate. And I've sat in CEO meetings and I've watched the people who make the 6 figures are the ones who know how to communicate effectively. I'm going to tell you that the people who make the 6 figures are not the ones who are tinkering around and doing this. They're the ones telling you how to do it. They're the ones standing up here telling you why you should buy the product. That's where you should be, is in that position, and that's the position of power. If you're an entrepreneur, why would anyone want to buy your business, buy into you, if you're just going to sit here and go, well, I sell cookies. Please buy? Like, that's not going to cut it. But if you can tell a story about you were at your grandma's house and you started to smell something from the oven, and it captured the senses. It went outside the windows and people started lining up at the door trying to get your grandma's cookies. And your grandma didn't know that if she hadn't started selling those cookies, she could be a millionaire by now. But you realized that it was impacting people's lives. That's a story about why you went into the business. That's why I'm going to teach you about storytelling. So if we go into the next one, what is storytelling? It's conveying a message through visuals, through, I break it down like this. How many listen to music? Okay, storytelling. How many people have ever been to a musical? Storytelling. How many people have ever danced? Storytelling. So as I keep going and going on, you all know about storytelling. You've seen storytelling. How many people have kids and you've gone into your kid's room and they're like, Daddy, Mommy, read me a story. Have you ever done that? Have you ever seen your kid just focus on every word you're saying as if you wrote the book? Because the story captivates them. You want to be the person when you walk into the room, they sit there and they go, Shantae, and they're hooked on every word you say. That's what you want to be. But how do you do that? By conveying a message that's going to impact people's lives. So as we continue down our road is, what's the purpose of storytelling? And as we move along this journey that we're going to be on is, what's the purpose of storytelling? This is going to be interactive. I have 3 concepts that I come up with of what I think storytelling is about. Is it to entertain? Is it to empower? Or is it to educate? Now, you can only vote once, so please be honest here. Raise your hand if you think storytelling is to entertain. Okay, few people. How many people think if it's not entertain, it's to empower? How many think storytelling is about empowering? Raise it up nice and high. Don't be shy. Oh, we got a lot of people. And how about educate? Okay, well, pretty much the same. So drum roll, please. What's the answer? All the above. That's what storytelling is. And the reason why I love storytelling is its only limit is your imagination. That's what'll stop your story. There are no limits. This box that we think the world is created in is not as small as you think it is. Your story is your story. It can transform people's lives. The question is, how do you do it and why are you doing it? And if you can get that concept, you can do so much with your life. As we continue down the story, I have 4 reasons why I believe storytelling matters. The first one is to connect. Storytelling connects people through emotions. And you've done this. And this is what I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you 4 things that you do right now that subconsciously you don't even know you're doing. And so I'm going to tell you, I'm not that smart. Just tell you, I'm not that smart. I just been watching people and I'm observing people and I'm telling stuff that you already know. The problem is you don't even know this stuff. You're connecting people by sharing your own experiences. The next thing that you're also doing with people is not only connecting, but you are also preserving culture. You go to museums, you go to art galleries, you watch TV and documentaries. That's culture that's being preserved. Have you ever been to your grandma's house? And your grandma might have a painting, or she sings a song, or she cooks a certain meal. And you've asked the question, Grandma, why do you do this? And she begins to tell you, well, when I was a little girl, 70, 80 years ago on the island of Jamaica, this is what I used to do. And she passed it down to your mother, and your mother passed it down to you. And now you passed it down to your kids. That's culture. That's something that you can keep holding for your family for generations. But if we lose this, the preserving culture, our culture itself dies. And we are fighting right now as a community to keep our culture going, to learn about things that have been lost through history. And if we knew what our history was, we'd be further ahead. That's why stories were told back when we just had drawings on caves. Nobody had phones 1,000 years ago. But they told stories, and it's passed through generations. What story do you have that you're willing to pass down to your next generation? What story do you have that you want your kids and your family to keep and preserve? So the next part is something that I love, and it's to empower. I love to empower people. I love to hear stories that inspire people. And at the end, if you stick around, I'm going to tell you a story that's inspired me. So you got to hang on to that. But storytelling can inspire people to make a decision to move from one step to their destination, to where you want them to be. What's the story that you're going to tell? And last but not least, builds community. This right here is a community. And I can even break it down even further. How many people like to bake? I got to come to your house. How many people like to bake? Yep. That's a community. How many people like sports? See, that's a community. How many people like to make money? Okay, listen, if your hands aren't up, I got issues. All right, that was an easy one. But we have communities and pockets. And when you go to work on Monday and you talk about, oh, I made this awesome bread, and everyone around your circle is talking about the bread you made, and they're going to talk about the meal they made, that's community. They're going to talk about hopefully the Raptors won, hopefully the Jays won, and you're going to cheer and you're going to talk about, that's community. What's the community that we are talking when we walk out this room? How do you make your business to get better? How do you get your finances right? How do you get your relationship right? That's a community, people. And if we don't know how to do that by telling stories, we lose that. We lose our fact of connecting. We lose our preserving of our culture. We lose a way to inspire people. And then unfortunately, it's going to fall, and then we can't build communities. Are you tracking with me here? Awesome. So as we progress down my journey 3 key tools for powerful storytelling. So if you've got a pen and paper, you're going to want to write this down. Take out your iPhone, your smartphone. If you have an Android, just throw it out because we know it's garbage. Anyhow, I'm just playing. Not really, but anyhow. But you want these 3 keys that's going to help you to effectively tell your story. First one is it's got to be memorable. Ladies and gentlemen, a story that you can remember is a story you're going to be able to apply. Does that make sense? If I don't remember what you said, why would I buy your product? And we know jingles. And I'll give you a commercial. Dun 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 dun. How do you all know that? The story that I told that I won the contest, what's this? The itsy bitsy spider. Now, question, is that on your podcast on your Spotify playlist? Absolutely not. Well, unless you got kids, but I don't know if you're bumping that in your stereo. But you've memorized that. You know stories. And the stories that are memorable are the ones that's going to push people to the next level. The next one after being memorable is something that you have to be relatable, or it has to resonate. You as a podcaster or content creator, if your message resonates with your audience or they can relate to it, guess what? They're coming back for more. That's how you build a community. I know absolutely nothing about thermonuclear dynamics. Is that even a word? Does that even exist? I have no idea, but I don't know anything about it, so you're never going to hear me talk about it. I know absolutely nothing about gardening. Could care less about gardening. I like the food that comes from it, but I don't like the act of actually doing it. So you'll never hear me talk about gardening. But oh boy, you get to me about public speaking, about communicating, and I can be here for days about it because I'm passionate about this. I'm excited about this. I have a friend of mine, we meet up every month and we have coffee, and she goes, Clem, when you talk about communicating, your eyes dance. Your eyes dance. And I didn't know what that meant. But I started talking to people about communicating, and they went, man, this is something you love to do. That's when it kicked in. Because I know about it, I can relate to you on why this is important in your life. So the first one is memorable. Second one is relatable. And the third one is personal. This part throws people off. They're like, none of your business. I'll tell my story, but I don't want to get too personal. But here's the thing that I tell them. When you tell someone your personal story, you build trust. How many podcasters are out there? Millions, maybe? How many news stations are out there? Millions, maybe? But here's the thing. How many of them do you trust? How many of them do you trust? And that's what people want to know, is if you can tell me your personal story, then I can trust you, because then I'll tell you my story. And that's how we get back to building the community. As we continue down my journey of our 3 steps, the next one I want you to come out and to understand is that after you finish your 3 keys of telling a story, is call to action. So when I'm building my story and my speech, I build it from the backwards front. My call to action, what do I want people to achieve? What do I want people to learn? That's how you build your story. Because if you start that way, then that's your why. And that's your why builds your purpose. And then you'll know how to curate your message. The next thing after what you want your audience to learn or to consider is this quote by Simon Sinek. People don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Want that to sink in. People don't care what you do. They care why you do it, because your why is what drives you to do something and attracts people. And people love to see the passion in your life because it's like it's a sweet aroma. It's like a fragrance. They're like, where's that coming from? Know what your why is. And when you know your why, you know your purpose, and you put your effort into it. And the third part about it is who's your audience. And most of you know this. It's your demographics. It's your age, your gender, your social status. These are things that you need to know, because when you're telling your story, who's actually going to be listening? Who's going to be listening? The story you have inside should not go to waste. Understand? Let me tell you this right now. The story that is deep inside of you should not go to waste. So whoever you're trying to reach, that's money on the table. And I don't necessarily mean physical money, but it's gold. These are people whose lives are going to change. But who are they? Where are they? What are they doing? That's what your story is going to connect with. And the last part is, how much do you know about this topic? If you, like I said, I don't know anything about gardening, so you'll never hear me talk about it because you'll never hear the passion in my voice. Whatever you have, be passionate. Know enough about it so that if anything goes wrong, and again, I'm in the AV department, so if my slides were to die, I could do this without the slides because I know my topic. Can you do that? If my mic dies, can I still continue without freezing up? And can I tell you, 30 years in the game, I have seen this. And I've watched speakers go, I don't know what to do. I can't help you. Like, this is your message. But your story, when it's personal, no one can change it. So we continue down this quote. I love it. A product without a story is a commodity. A product without a story is a commodity. But when you have a story attached to it, it becomes a brand. When I think of this, I think of Nike. Nike doesn't sell shoes, okay? They don't sell athletic equipment. They sell a dream. They sell you being the best version of you and how to do that. That's their brand. Apple doesn't sell phones or computers or Apple Music. They sell your own identity, something that's passionate to you. That's what they sell. So what is your story, and can it be attached to a brand? Here's the story I want you all to know, because this is how we're going to close off. I want you to think of 1992, Barcelona Olympics. It's about 30 degrees outside, and it's the 400-meter men's finals. Running in lane number 4 from United Kingdom, Derek Redmond. See, Derek Redmond was an Olympic sprinter. Well-known, won lots of medals. So as they prepare themselves, I want you to envision yourself, all 8 runners crouched down in their starting position. The crowd comes to a hush. Runners, take your mark. Set. Bang, gun goes off. 8 runners go flying around the track at 100 miles an hour. Arms are pumping, their heart's pumping, legs are pumping, they're giving everything they've got. Derek Redmond sees a runner in front of him, knows full well if he catches up to that runner, passes him, he can become first place because he's done this race a million times. He's run this race a million times in his head. And as he turns around the bend, bang, grabs his leg. He's torn his hamstring. And I don't know if you understand what that means. Like, that's a lot of pain when that muscle snaps. And Derek Redmond comes to a halt. Tears are flowing from his face. And it's not because he lost the race. It's because he put 4 years into sacrificing this race. He put 4 years of finances into this race. He knows this comes only every 4 years. You don't have another chance next year. He could have done what a lot of people will do. And a lot of people like yourselves, when something goes wrong, you just raise your hand if you've been there. Don't raise your hand if you've been there. But you give up. You're like, bump that, man. This sucks. And then we start doing a sad song. Nobody knows the trouble I've seen. You've been there, right? Okay, let me talk over here. Have you been there? Yeah. So Derek Redmond could have sat down, cried, and been carried off the track, and nobody would have faulted him. But Derek Redmond understood one thing. I came here to finish what I started. Do you hear me? He came here to finish what he started. And he got up and continued to limp down the track. Understand this. The race is over for everybody, but it's not over for you. You still got to finish your race. Your race ain't done yet. Understand what I'm saying? He starts to run. Here comes an older man, comes running down from the stands, hops over the barricade, pushes security guard away, and grabs Derek Redmond's arm and puts it around his shoulder. And together they both limp down the track. The man I'm talking about is his father. His father understood the 4 years of effort he put into it, the 4 years of blood, sweat, and tears. What I learned from that lesson, you better partner up with people who know what you're doing. When you partner with people who know what you're doing and what your dream is, guess what? When they see you stumble, they're going to come pick you up. And too many times you're running a race by yourself. You're trying to start your business by yourself. You're trying to fix your finances by yourself. Trying to get your marriage on track by yourself. There's 8 billion people in this world. You tell me you can't find one person to hook you up? You can't find one person who understands what you're going through? His father and Derek Redmond both hobbled down the track. 65,000 people stood up and started cheering them. 65,000 people were cheering them, not because they won the race, but because they ran the race. Ladies and gentlemen, there's a crowd out there wanting you to win your race. Come hell or high water, come flood or typhoons, I tell you right now, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm starting a podcast. Don't know if it's going to work. Don't care, but I'm giving everything I got. I'm speaking up here. Don't know if it's going to work, but I'm giving everything I got. Because I'm telling you right now, whatever God put in your life is not to punish you, but it's to prepare you for something great. And I can leave a message with you right now. Do something with your life and don't waste it. Whatever you've got going inside. You're a podcaster. You're a content creator. There's something that's going to change someone's life. There's something. I tell people this in closing. It's a crime if you keep it to yourself, because the graveyard is full of people who never got a chance to tell their story. Don't waste your life. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish you all the best in all that you do. I believe that you're all going to be successful. And I'll leave you with this quote. Every obstacle you go through is going to help you. But I also leave this: be a help and not a hindrance. Be a blessing and not a burden to those who are around you. I'm Clem Dwyer, and I'm out.
Listen, keep it going for Clem. Clem, I didn't know you were a pastor. I didn't know you were a pastor. Since when?
You know if I was a pastor?
Yeah, that was a word. Am I right? Am I right?